Okay, so I'm getting going on the Educreations here. This is to be associated with the episode 43 of Birth of a New Dimension Radio. Okay, so first of all, anybody who is simply accessing the audio and is going to the UCY page, you can click on the pictures of the flying rainbow lasagna. And for those of you who are actually looking at the images that I'm sharing right now, this is the flying rainbow lasagna over here. And this is a picture of the sculptural form that I've created, and here is another picture of the sculptural form. This one that I am currently looking at and drawing on top of is the most accurate sculpture that I have made. And it is accurate in the sense that it depicts individually each of the individual, I would say, quote-unquote, layers of the lasagna, and I am highlighting them right now. There is one for each color of the rainbow, or for each level of the spectrum. And the reason for that is that each one of our chakras is associated with one color of the rainbow. So right now I'm highlighting this image over here. This is a picture of the toroidal or donut-shaped human energy field. If you'd like to click on that image in order to check out what I'm depicting here. The area that is red is the area, first of all, representing the physical realm, and it is the largest aspect of the energy field. Red is the longest wavelength. There is always the most red energy in this quote-unquote color recipe that we are creating here. That's like saying the physical realm has the most energy. It is the biggest. And if we look at all of these depictions, we always see here is violet. Violet is at the very top of the spectrum. It's analogous to your crown chakra, which is the very top of your head, where a baby's fontanelle is located. And that is the area of your skull where your plates have not yet fused together. So basically, there is a tiny amount of violet. There is a large amount of red. And the other colors have different proportions. This gives you an idea of the proportions of what you are made of. That connection to source is the tiniest little fragment, and then insight down from there is slightly more, and then communication down from there is slightly more, and then heart is slightly more, until we get out to the physical realm. So all of this is just so that you can understand the basic building blocks of what we're dealing with. This shape, the toroidal human energy field, is shaped like a donut, and this is what our chakras have been shaped like for a pretty long time. The flying rainbow lasagna is my contribution in the language of color, line, shape, form, movement, texture, and tone. It's like saying I learned a language and then I wrote a paragraph in that language. And the paragraph that I wrote was correct according to the syntax of the language, and it did not refute or come into conflict with any of the other paragraphs that have been written previously by other people that are writing or sharing consciousness through this language of vibration, all right? Because the language of vibration is literally the harmonic structure of the cosmos. The harmonic structure meaning the invisible matrix upon which all molecules of reality and forces in the energetic realm are aligned or arranged. Like the way that you can arrange pegs on a pegboard. The pegboard itself is that harmonic structure, and that is what I paint. And so the idea is you come with a toroidal structure. The cosmos is in a toroidal energetic structure. And the flying rainbow lasagna shape is achieved when that torus is placed in a higher dimensional state. So I have described this in the past as either putting the object in a box and then moving the object up and down within the box, or putting the object in a box and then having the object stay stationary and moving the box up and down around it. And when you do that, I'm just going to draw a box here, that is how you get the flying rainbow lasagna. What I am drawing in a box right here is what happens when you take this donut-shaped energy field and you place it in a higher dimensional state. So some questions or concerns are from previous broadcasts that I've done. How are our genes changed? Because I am changing your DNA with this information. And the answer is that we understand through epigenetics our environment is affecting our genes and their behavior and the way that they are moving and changing. So you can also check out in my links the supercoiling video. It's a lovely video because a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's worth 1,000,000 words that shows what I am now going to draw. And that is the way that your DNA is structured when it begins to coil. So if you're new to this, if you're accessing this for the first time, I always teach, I'm drawing a chromosome here, your genes are not always in the shape of a tightly coiled X-shaped chromosome. That is very simplified science teaching. Your genes are often unfurled inside of the nucleus of your cells, and when it is unfurled, I'm drawing this nucleus in orange over here, all of the stuff that is inside of there is called the chromatin. It is like the unfurled sweater. It's just yarn. It hasn't been knitted into a sweater. And when your genes are in that unfurled state, they're doing all sorts of interesting patterns and maneuvers. They twist and morph and splice and unsplice and do-si-do and do all sorts of interesting things. They are not static at all. Brief pause. So now I'm drawing a picture of DNA supercoiling. We start off with 2 strands, like if we had 2 strands of thread and they make one little rope. And then DNA is coiled around these little proteins that are called histones that, if you can imagine, thread coiling around a spool. That is the way these histones work. This is a big giant blob as a histone. So the DNA coils around 2 times, and then it goes on its merry way. And then it finds the next histone, and it coils around and 2 times, and then goes on its merry way. All right? And let me just clear a little bit of space here, and then I'll show you the end result is, now that I have simplified this black line, you end up having a donut shaped like that, and then a donut shaped like that, and a donut shaped like that. For those who are only accessing the audio, what I have just drawn is essentially a stack of donuts. If you can imagine a whole lot of donuts stacked up on top of each other, it would make Homer Simpson certainly quite hungry. Many, many donuts stacked up in a line. And of course they would be connected because this is all made out of the same piece of thread or piece of DNA. So this is the first understanding. What determines which parts of your genes are being accessed is literally the dance movements that your genes are making. These dance movements have largely been dictated to you in the past by what was available in terms of information and in terms of what you could model yourself upon. There were a limited number of dance movements. It was hard for you to access certain crucial parts of the DNA code because when DNA is tightly coiled, the RNA messengers cannot get in there. So I'm now drawing in red. You know, if you can imagine that there's not a space over here, that means that RNA can't get in there and read those pages. Or you can imagine that it's like pages of a book that are stuck together. We cannot read those pages, and those pages could contain crucial information, such as how to dismantle a tumor or how to cellularly regenerate and maintain a state of youth as opposed to devolve into a state of decrepitude. So information is part of the environmental effect, the way that our environment affects our genes. It's not just what chemicals you are exposed to or what sunlight you are exposed to or what nutrition. It's also the thoughts and ideas, the mental programming that you are exposed to. So I am now exposing you to a new and exciting mental program that states, first of all, you're being programmed by exposing yourself to information. You've already been programmed for decrepitude, cellular death, and diseases like cancer. And now here's a new program that you can undergo that can change your DNA. So all of these donuts that are stacked up in a saliva-inducing Homer Simpson drool can be placed into a higher dimensional state. And now I'm drawing little red lasagna shapes over these donuts. But if you can imagine, we have placed the entire context of DNA in a box. We put it all in a box, and now we are moving that box back and forth. And when we move that box back and forth, the formerly donut-shaped pieces of DNA now become shaped like flying rainbow lasagnas. And what does that mean in terms of your personal experience? Because this is all about how does it affect you? What practicality can you apply to your own levels of consciousness? Well, first of all, there have been genetic blockades, limitations that were placed on human users of DNA for about the past 10 or 12,000 years. I refer to this as the squashing because we were actually intended to have DNA that is shaped more like a spring or a spiral, just moving a little bit of room over here so I can draw this, like a spiral or like a slinky, but 10 or 12,000 years ago that got flattened out, and DNA now is perceived almost more like a flattened wave. And this is very similar to if you wanted to share a lovely bouquet with someone, but you had to stick it underneath the crack of their door to get it into the room. You had to flatten out all of those beautiful, perfect flowers. This is what happened to your DNA, all right? Ooh, let's also just do a really brief aside on the flower of life and flattening that out. So I have just pulled up an image of the flower of life. That's this over here on the left. And it's just a simple line drawing. It's not something that I drew. It's something that is available publicly. So many people focus on this central portion here, this six-lobed shape. And it is a flattening out of the shape that I am now highlighting down here. It's a little orange sculpture that I've shared many times before. And this sculpture represents the negative space within the chakras. Negative space not meaning that it is bad or evil or malevolent. In terms of art school, when we speak about a positive or negative space, we are talking about if it's a coffee cup, the positive space is the ceramic vessel itself. The negative space is where the coffee goes in the coffee cup, okay? So this orange sculpture depicts the negative space, the places where there is nothingness in the sculpture, and it creates this eight-lobed shape. So the problem is, in terms of flattening out and consciousness, many people in the New Age movement are looking at this six-lobed, kind of like flattened out, six-petaled star shape and saying, flower of life, this is a profound, significant thing. They are forgetting that there are two more lobes that actually stick out. One would stick out in the direction of coming towards your eyeball or coming towards the camera, and one would stick out in the opposite direction of going away from your eyeball or away from the camera. Or if whatever screen you are looking at the flower of life on, if you imagine that as a flat two-dimensional plane, and then take a pencil or something like something skinny and stick it in the middle and have it stick out towards you, the viewer, that is the dimension that is hidden. The flower of life, as it is flattened out, is a flattening, like the way your genes have been flattened and the way that flowers have been flattened in order to stick them into the room that you're in. So please do not misunderstand the flower of life. You're actually looking at a flat, linear representation of something that is three-dimensional. And when you see it three-dimensionally, it looks like this orange eight-lobed shape. So again, these are things that are very difficult for me to speak about without actually showing you. So that's why I'm taking this opportunity to also concurrently record the Educreations so that you can get more of an idea of what I'm speaking about. And I'd also like to speak briefly to the question of what causes this change to happen. Like, what causes this donut-shaped energy field to all of a sudden start jumping up and down in a higher dimensional state like this? And the answer is that it has to do with this violet point that I'm highlighting right up here. It is all about the movement of that point, and that point is the singularity. So we're understanding that through epigenetics, ingesting ideas changes and affects the patterns within which your DNA furls, unfurls, and do-si-dos. Just by learning about the existence of the flying rainbow lasagna, you are being inoculated with its presence. Let us not associate negatively with, vaccines and things like that. But I think of it more like inoculating spores into a forest so that it can grow mycelium and have a beautiful network of consciousness connecting the beautiful roots. So this is the idea, or think of it as a seed crystal that is placed into a supersaturated solution and causes the instantaneous crystallization of the entire solution. This flying rainbow lasagna over here, this is the seed crystal. It is an idea that is being placed into your mind. Your mind is like the supersaturated solution. And just knowing that this is possible helps to begin make it happen. So this is a big part of this. Knowing that something is possible, having a new dance movement upon which to model your behavior. I've spoken in previous lessons about how nearsightedness is not genetic, it is behavioral. It has to do with the way people use their eyeballs and how linear language and reading create cognitive dissonance, which is evidenced or expressed as the symptom of nearsightedness, but that's all behavioral. Well, being a flying rainbow lasagna is also behavioral. It is like saying you can take your form and change it into a different form. And the positive aspect of doing this is that you're now dimensionalizing your DNA, taking it from that flattened spring-like formation and popping it forward into the slinky-like formation that it's supposed to be. So while I'm doing the visual recording, I also want to talk about the Merkaba, and then in the last half of the audio broadcast, I will tie this all together. Brief pause. Brought out some of these sketches that I drew of a human form sitting in the Merkaba, and you can access these sketches also by clicking on the Twitter feed. And basically, I'm doing this because this is such a visual, it's literally a visualization of this star tetrahedron shaped energy field that then rotates around your body. Very difficult to just speak about this verbally, so I'm bringing in the pictures to talk about this. And this is very relevant to your life presently because creating one's Merkaba is essential to shield us from the energetic perturbations that are at large. And those energetic perturbations are not only naturally occurring, they are being created technologically. So large apparatuses like CERN and smaller apparatuses like the smart meters that might be connected to the outside of your home are all creating these perturbations of the field. And creating a Merkaba is a way for you to protect your consciousness and protect all layers of your body from the physical all through the non-physical, because that is what these perturbations or waves are doing. They are affecting not just your physical body, but also emotional, cognition, heart, communication, insight, and the ability to connect to the divine. People are afraid that if CERN is activated in certain ways, that it could be used in a malevolent way to create portals to things or places that you would not wish, or to destabilize the planetary chakra system, or to destabilize your own personal chakra system. And I have certainly felt those levels of destabilization. So I am sharing with you this crucial information about the Merkaba so that you can protect yourself. It is literally, we're in the marathon. If you have not yet trained for the marathon, it is very difficult to train while you are going. So the idea is that for many years we are to have been cultivating inner silence, the capacity to achieve the tone of unconditional love, which is compassion, which is literally a tone like, oh, a note that our heart chakra makes when we are in harmonious alignment with the cosmos. And this is also understanding that we are submerged within a totality. The harmonic structure of the cosmos doesn't stop at your borders. It penetrates you also. You are submerged within the harmonic structure of the cosmos. And the more closely you conform to that harmonic structure, the more you will be alive, the more vitality you will have, the longer life you will have. This is also affecting your DNA, to be told this, that you can achieve a longer life by structuring your wave patterns of your non-physical body. So knowing how to perform the Merkaba is what it's all about. This will help to protect you from perturbations. The Merkaba, first of all, translates as light body vessel. This is information from ancient Atlantis, antediluvian, high sophisticated worldwide culture that was virtually, traces of it were virtually completely wiped away. It existed in an amnesiac quality, and now many people are remembering their experiences in that realm and what life was like. And the secret mystery teachings of ancient Atlantis were kept alive in the ancient Egyptian mystery teachings, and also in the Greek mysteries of Eleusis and some of the other entheogenic, you could call them religious cults or spiritual forms of investigation. Anyway, Merkaba is two interpenetrating star tetrahedra. A tetrahedron is a pyramid that is made of equilateral triangles. This is not synonymous with the Great Pyramid at Giza. That pyramid is made of 4 equilateral triangles and a square base. So this is a different type of pyramid that has a triangular base. And in the star tetrahedron, we have one pyramid that is facing down. You could think of it like a vessel, like a coffee cup, and one aspect of the pyramid that is pointing up. And the one that is pointing up, you can envision that one up above your head, up above your crown chakra, and the one that is pointing down points downward from the base of your spine. And I am giving you these like the way that I would teach an art class and say, here's your paintbrush. I won't tell you what you are and are not allowed to paint, but I will tell you how it functions. So I get the star tetrahedron that is pointing forward from my chest, the one that emanates from my heart. I begin that one spinning around to the left, and the one that emanates from the base of my spine, I get that one spinning around to the right. I have heard people who are of the other gender, males, do it in the opposite direction. If that feels right to you, do what feels right to you. Again, I'm teaching you that you have a paintbrush. I'm not teaching you how to use it, what to paint with it. And I'm saying that you should hold it in a way that is comfortable and efficacious to your own work, all right? So you can see how this is literally a visualization. The way to perform the Merkaba is to sit with one's legs crossed, and when you cross your legs, quote-unquote Native American style, or like from the subcontinent of India, your legs, your thighs, already make a triangular shaped base. That is the base of the pyramid that points upward. And that aspect of energy is definitive. It's being very specific and saying these are the exact things that I wish to happen. And the other pyramid that we sit within emanates forward from the heart, and this is receptive. It is about dealer's choice to the universe. It's understanding and recognizing that we are in a state of co-creative divine partnership, and that we might have our own desires, and there is also an aspect of consciousness that might know our desires better than we do, and be able to answer our desires and prayers even better than we would or could for ourselves. So this is like if I used dessert as an example. My upward-facing pyramid, I would place the desires. I want to eat dessert. I want to have it at this time of day. I want it to be in a blue bowl. I want it to be like this, and I want it to be cold and creamy. I want it to be, a specific flavor of ice cream that I really love. And in the receptive pyramid, you would place things like, I want something that is comforting, or I want something that is the expression of joy, or I want something that gives me these feelings when I ingest it. And you know something? You might think that you're wishing for ice cream, but you might receive from the universe frozen custard, or gelato, or a smoothie, something that's very similar but not exactly what you wished for. So this is the understanding that we have two aspects. One aspect is sending out. One aspect is receiving. It is very good to be receptive. It is very good to be specific. And it's good to have the balance of both of them. And this is what we do when we cultivate the Merkaba. So in terms of energy, I use my Merkaba all the time now just to protect myself from these EMF energetic onslaughts. And when I do that, I don't specifically program it to say, you know, I'd like to manifest this, I'd like to have this for dessert. Nothing like that at all. You could say my intention for manifestation is peace, that I do not wish to have malevolent beings or malevolent energy, beings that do not conform to the harmonious structure of the cosmos. I do not want to have them negatively impacting me. So that is what I do, and I do it all the time, especially if I'm feeling that there are negative, intrusive thought entities, beings that would like to feed off of my fear or anxiety. I do it when I feel perturbations, like it might be an energetic sense of an emotional disturbance or a physical disturbance. Sometimes I feel them as actual sharp headaches or pains in my head, and I now understand all of these to be emanations from technology that is not imbued with heart and spirit and functioning according to the harmonic structure of the cosmos. It is ignorant technology, technology that lacks awareness and is not made with a loving divine presence, so it is not acting harmoniously. And we can use our Merkabas in order to protect our own physicality from what is going on. This is a tool that helps us to be able to navigate and deal with the unfairness of being submerged within a very polluted world. And the pollution is in the form of these waves that are being broadcasts and fields that you cannot perceive them with your physical eyes. So it's like trying to say we are in what should be a schoolhouse for learning, but instead we're in a fun house. We are surrounded by distorted mirrors that do not send back the energy that we are sending out in an unperturbed way. You can send out very loving energy in this time and place and have it sent back in a diminished, entropic, or distorted way. That means you could be a very good person thinking very good thoughts all the time, but you could still have not enough money, or have not enough professional opportunities, or not live in a good place, or not have good food. All of those things that should be, like the reward for thinking well and living well. We live in a distorted funhouse. It's like saying you don't get a treat when you do the right thing. Sometimes you do the right thing and you don't get a treat at all. Sometimes you do the wrong. The wrong thing is done and people are heartily rewarded. So again, we are not in a schoolhouse. We're in a funhouse. This is a crucial understanding. And the Merkaba can be used, each one of us can use it, to protect ourselves from these negative perturbations. We are supposed to live in a world where what you send out comes back to you instantaneously. Clearly we don't, because if we did, war criminals who have killed tens of thousands of people would instantaneously receive the just deserts of their actions. And yet some of them live to a ripe old age, protected by their cohorts and not facing the justice for the crimes that they've committed. And so clearly we live in a distorted funhouse. I'm wrapping up the broadcast on the visual whiteboard, but not for the entire radio broadcast. Brief pause. Okay, so I'm getting going on the Educreations.